Charlotte Staunton Hyde. It's a mouthful, isn't it? Too many names for one small woman. Truth be told, I've been called by different ones in different times of my life. On my little white stone in Mount Pleasant, they carved Charlotte Staunton Hyde, and that is how I am remembered there. The stone is low, no taller than a child's knee. To read it, you must stoop down, and maybe that's just as well. My life was never meant for high towers or grand markers. I was born on August 22nd, 1802, in Lower Penn's Neck, Salem, New Jersey. I was born Charlotte Quindlan then, a girl with clever hands and a mind that wanted more than what was given. Life carried me down many roads. I was married once to a man named Johnson. It did not last, and I will not speak poorly of him, but I found myself alone again. Alone, but not without work to do. Always there was work to do. By the early 1850s, I was in Kanesville, Iowa, helping in the home of Orson Hyde. Yes, that Orson Hyde, the apostle who would be known far and wide for dedicating the Holy Land for the return of the Jews. At that time, he was simply Elder Hyde, husband to Miranda, father of her children, and master of a bustling household. I was there as a helper to Miranda, a seamstress, a caretaker, someone who loved her children as if they were my own. Miranda and I were good friends. There was a kindness between us, and I never felt myself an outsider in her home. It was there, amid the noise of children and the dust of Kanesville, that Orson asked me to be his wife. I was 50 years old then, no young bride, but a woman weathered by life. I had not thought marriage would come to me again, yet in November of 1852, I stood with him in the endowment house in Salt Lake and was sealed. I became his fourth wife. Now I will speak plain. Plural marriage is not a simple thing. It asks more of the heart than the heart can always give. In the spring that followed, I lived under one roof with Miranda and Mary Ann, another one of Orson's wives. We tried, but my spirit was unsettled. It was not morally that drove me away, but a quiet understanding that my path was meant to diverge from Orson's. We remained bound in name, but by 1859, Brigham Young himself granted us an official separation. And so I made my way to the Sanpete Valley, for Ephraim first, and then with the others, north to Mount Pleasant. There I stitched for the settlers and opened a little school. It was no grand schoolhouse, only a log room 12 by 15 feet, with a fireplace at one end. No bell rang to call the children in. Instead, I would stand at the door and call in my strong voice, "To books! To books! To books!" And the children would come running. I taught them letters and sums, yes, but also patience and discipline and the joys of learning. Sometimes I baked bread during lessons, right there in the skillet with coals heaped on the lid, the smell of warm loaves filling the room, while the children scratched their lessons on slates. I was paid in potatoes, in onions, in flour, whatever their families could spare, it was enough. They called me Aunty Hyde. I was small, and by then growing old, my hearing was not what it once had been. Some remembered me with a pipe between my teeth, puffing away while keeping order in the classroom. But whatever they say, they remembered me with affection. Many of my pupils grew to be teachers themselves, and others became leaders of the valley. They were my true legacy, those children. Now I rest in Mount Pleasant, in a grave you might pass by without notice. My little marble stone nearly lost to time. Orson lives far away, honored in Jerusalem, with gardens and remembered in books. That was his path, and it was a noble one. Mine is quieter, humbler, stitched into the fabric of children's lives, written in chalk dust and in heart smoke. So if you ever find my stone, and you must yield to read it, do not think me forgotten. Remember me instead as Aunty Hyde, who called the children in from play with her cry of "To books! To books! To books!" and who found her purpose not in monuments, but in the simple work of shaping hearts and minds.